So hello everyone, I'd like to have a quick video on what actually happened in the clash between Lewis and Max in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I already made a full article with all the details on FormulaPassion, which I will share the link below in the description. Of course it's in Italian, but nowadays with DeepL or even Google Translate it usually comes out pretty much understandable, also in English. And if you need help or have questions, please consider yourself welcome to ask, because I'm more than happy to assist anybody who has questions. Now let's see this. I'm not judging who was at fault, I'm not judging what the rule says. I just want to show you what the data tells us on what happened, because I think it is interesting to see. No? Now this is the data of the third sector. This is where the third sector begins of the lap of the clash. To be honest, I think it's lap 37, not 38, but doesn't really matter now. It's only the title. We have the speed, throttle, brake and gear. Now, couple of notes. The data of the brake is just a boolean. That's what FIA broadcast. There is no way to get for us to get the full details of the brake pedal, or because that's a bit of a long story, but basically it's related to the pressure of the braking circuit. That is a very specific data that's only in the hands of the teams, and we don't have it in our hand. So we basically just know that the brake pedal is pressed or not, but we don't know how much it is pressed. Second point, these data are synchronized as much as we can on a time-based more than on a space-based, but this is another, let's say, another story. Just to be, we went to check on F1 TV. We try to make it, let's say, as correct and as accurate and reliable as possible. And also we checked with the team radio as well, making a bit of a calculation on the usual delay of the team radio that are heard from the team to the drivers. Now, first of all, at turn 22, around turn 22, Max is told to let Lewis by and to do that strategically. So in a smart way, let's say, not to make it too easy, and to be able to get back the position. So that was, I think, this strategic call comes also from what happened in Bahrain at the very first Grand Prix, where Max moved aside to let Lewis by and got his tires into the dirty part of the track, and then even if it was a bit faster, wasn't able to catch Lewis again in the last lap, because his tires were not, let's say, clean yet. So to do that without losing the opportunity to pass again. And we see that Max is actually slower than Lewis at turn 22-23, and that's the first, let's say, signal that Max wasn't pushing, because turn 22 has been one of his best corner of the weekend, together with the complex of corners from turn 6 to turn 12. So as long as we see that here is much slower than Lewis in turn 22, it means that he was not actually pushing. Not only that, we see that when he gets back to the straight, which is not completely straight but is a full throttle part, he raises his feet twice from the throttle pretty much clearly, which produces a curve, a speed and acceleration curve, which is much lower than the usual one. And this actually makes Lewis coming much closer to Max rear, and also to Lewis got caught in his slipstream, so he was getting closer very fast. Now what happens here is that Lewis is being told that Max he was going to let him by, but from what we heard on the radio, it was just a tiny fraction. It should be around here, not much earlier. So that's what we hear. Lewis is saying that nobody told him what was going on and didn't understand. I don't know if it's true or not. Only he knows if it was avoiding the overtake to not to get first to the DRS line, or if he was actually puzzled by the situation. I don't know. I'm not. I don't want to judge this. Only he knows. Just to report that we can hear the voice on the radio of Bono telling Lewis that Max was going to let him by around here, just a second before the two cars got extremely close one to each other. Then what happens? That once Lewis is very close to Max, he raises his feet because he doesn't want to crash into Max, of course, at the beginning. So he touches the brakes and raises his feet, and then for a second he goes back on throttle to get himself, let's say, to keep himself very close to Max. The feeling is that Lewis was trying not to overtake. Maybe he was puzzled. Maybe he was afraid that Max could do something strange, or maybe he just didn't want to overtake before the DRS line. We don't know. But what we understand is, at least what the data shows, is that Lewis is very, very close to Max and is trying to keep the position very close to Max, like if it was a safety car start situation, when you want to be close to the car ahead of you, but you cannot overtake. You don't want to overtake, but you just want to keep as close as you can with him. Now, once Max sees that Lewis is not overtaking, what he does is just lifting completely from throttle, goes on the brakes. We don't know how much again, but we also see that he's downshifting a lot, using the engine brake to slow down a lot his car. Lewis keep doing this trying to be close situation that we mentioned before, and then there is a moment. Now here the speed of Max is a bit dark, but is a bit higher than Lewis, and then goes down abruptly. And I think it's because was not completely pressing the brakes, but here he did a bit heavier brake. That's also what the steward said. And to my data, I had a deceleration data here of up to 2.2 Gs or something, and the stewards have 2.4 Gs, so pretty much the same number. So I think what's happening here is that for a second Max is faster than Lewis. So with the reaction times, Lewis goes back on throttle while Max slams on the brake to not to stretch the gap between the two. And since they do it basically at the same time, they went to collision, because one is accelerating, the other is braking, so they went to collision. And another peculiar thing is that immediately after the contact, Max goes back on full throttle suddenly, without any doubt, without any fear of anything. He just goes as if Lewis was pushing him, and so he goes. I don't know if that means that Max was waiting for the contact, and so as soon as he felt the contact, he went back on throttle, or if it just his instinct, racing instinct, that as soon as he feels the contact behind, just by instinct run away with full throttle. I actually don't know. My personal opinion is that Max tried to make it at least difficult for Lewis to overtake, to make it a bit confusing as much as he can, and Lewis, let's say, did not his best, because was tried to stay behind but close, and then got caught in the braking and acceleration situation, and he was actually lucky not to break his front wing, because that would have been a completely different outcome. So I cannot say which responsibility is. It's very hard to tell. That's the job of the steward, not mine, but I wanted to show you what the data actually tells us, and which I think it is interesting enough. Of course, many of you will not agree with me, many of you will, but it is what it is. So let's head down to Abu Dhabi and have fun in the last race of the season. Cheers everyone, have a nice day.